Ready to go? Everyone ready to go?
Yes, we're ready to go.
Okay.
1 second, and she'll hand them to you. Can you give me 1 second?
Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Where they at? Hold on.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On this day, Wednesday, February 8th, 2012, at 4:05 p.m., the regularly scheduled board meeting of the Chicago Park District is being held in the field house of Kennecott Park at 4434 South Lake Park Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Will the secretary take a roll call of the commissioners?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Shalaby?
Here.
Commissioner Koldike?
Here.
Commissioner Hanlon?
Here.
Commissioner Lavelle? Here. Commissioner Salgado? Here. President Traubert?
Here.
Quorum is present. Let the record reflect that General Superintendent Michael Kelly and General Counsel Maria Garcia are also in attendance.
The meeting will please come to order. Welcome, everyone. It's great for us to be out here in Kennecott Park. We have Alderman Burns from the 4th Ward here. Alderman Burns, would you please address us?
Good afternoon. To the Chicago Park District Board of Commissioners, to the General Superintendent and staff here today, welcome to the 4th Ward. The 4th Ward has so many great parks and amenities, and it's been a great partnership working with the Park District to make sure that those parks reflect what the people in the community want, whether it's Mandrake Park, whether it's Washington Park, whether it's the Pocket Parks, and certainly working with us on naming our parks. So I do have an interest in an item that's on your agenda today in terms of Park 532 on Lake Park Avenue, and I appreciate the fact that the Park District will name that park after two extraordinary women who have offered tremendous leadership in our community, Izora Davis and Hattie K. Williams. That's very important to the people of the 4th Ward. I also wanted to mention very quickly that the staff of the Park District has been extremely responsive to the people of the 4th Ward and to my office and my staff. I'd like to mention by name, of course, Tim King has been very responsive, and Jackie Payne as well have done a great job in terms of responding to the needs of the community. I'm looking forward to a very fruitful relationship with you, and I'd like you to continue with your agenda, and again, come back to the 4th Ward anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alderman. Okay, so we're going to take item 6 out of order. Under unfinished business, item number 6 from the First Deputy General Counsel, amendment to the request to initiate the 45-day notice period to name Park 532 as Hattie K. Williams Park to include Izora Davis.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, President Traubert, Superintendent Kelly, and General Counsel Garcia. Elizabeth Perez, Deputy Director of Legislative and Community Affairs. It is recommended that an order be entered authorizing the General Superintendent or his designee to amend the request to initiate the 45-day period to solicit public input to name Park 532, located at 4101 South Lake Park Avenue, as Williams Davis Park, in honor of two significant Chicago women, Hattie K. Williams and Izora Davis, pursuant to Chapter 7, Section E1 of the Code of the Chicago Park District. In 2006, the Chicago Park District acquired a 2.85-acre park from the Chicago Housing Authority in the Oak Lawn community. The park was created as part of the CHA's Plan for Transformation, which included raising the severely deteriorated public housing units known as Lake Park Homes and replacing them with a mixed-income community. Designed by Bauer Latoza Studio, Park 532 includes a playground, passive landscape areas, and a bronze sculpture entitled Restoration that symbolically represents the transformation of the Oak Lawn neighborhood. Southside community members have requested that the Chicago Park District Board of Commissioners name Park 532 in honor of Hattie K. Williams, a social worker and community activist who made important contributions to the civil rights movement and committed herself to bettering the lives of Chicago's underprivileged and minority citizens. A significant number of other community members have asked that the park be named in honor of neighborhood activist Izora Davis. Since both women lived near the park site and devoted their lives to improving the community, it is proposed that the park be named in honor of both women. Thank you.
Is there any discussion, any questions?
Move to approve. Second.
Will the secretary take a roll call for the adoption of the matter?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Shalaby?
Aye.
Commissioner Koldyke?
Aye.
Commissioner Hamlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Lavelle?
Aye.
Commissioner Salgado?
Aye.
President Trauberg?
Aye.
Motion carried, and the matter is adopted.
We also have Alderman O'Shea of the 19th Ward with us today. I'd like to invite him to come up and speak, after which time we'll also hear item number 16 out of order.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My name is Matthew O'Shea, and I'm proud to serve as Alderman of the 19th Ward. I'm honored to be here today to talk about King Lockhart Park. I'm going to take all of you back to the night of Wednesday, February 11th, 1998, and what started off as what everyone thought was a minor fire at the Beverly Tire Shop at 10611 Southwestern, and unfortunately turned into a nightmare. Firefighters went on the roof, created a hole. 7 firefighters went in the building. At some point, garage door was opened. What became known as a backdraft occurred. Seven firefighters walked in. I was out on the sidewalk. I remember that night like it was yesterday. 5 came out. I remember watching firefighters tumbling through the glass, out on the sidewalk, glass everywhere. And then I watched when panic set in, when they realized 2 men were missing. You could hear the radios going off, quickly raised to a 411. Firefighter paramedic Patrick King, firefighter Anthony Lockhart died that night. 14 years ago this Saturday, 14 years, the Chicago Park District and my predecessor worked to get this location honored in their names. Some of the family members are here today. I simply want to say to you, the Beverly community will never forget Patrick King or Anthony Lockhart. And I want to say to the Chicago Park District, thank you. Thank you for this beautiful park that we're going to be opening very soon. Thank you for honoring these 2 heroes. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman.
And I want to thank you, Alderman. I want to recognize also Alderman Rugai. Without your efforts and Alderman Rugai's, this could not take place. This was a very long process to acquire this park, ironically enough. And if you haven't been there yet, it's a beautiful addition to our parks. I also want to recognize the King family and the Lockhart family. If any of the Kings are here and they would like to say something, or the Lockharts, we invite you to the podium. Otherwise, just to reiterate, February 11th is the bell ringing ceremony, and I do look forward to a formal ribbon cutting. Hopefully we can get the mayor there as well somewhere in the near future when the weather warms up. Thank you.
I move to approve the item. Second.
If no objection, we'll take the last roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter.
Sir, first, Elizabeth Perez is going to read the recommendation.
Oh, thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. It is recommended that an order be entered authorizing the General Superintendent or his designee to officially name Park 558 as King Lockhart Park. Pursuant to Chapter 7, Section E1 of the Code of the Chicago Park District, the request to name Park 558 was forwarded to the Secretary of the Chicago Park District, who filed a copy of this request with the Committee on Programs and Recreation and initiated a notice period to solicit public input. Notices were posted in parks and sent to advisory councils located within a 1-mile radius of the park site. Elected officials were also notified of the proposal, including the alderman. The notice period of 45 days soliciting public input regarding the naming proposal was initiated on December 21st, 2011. Numerous community members and organizations have provided strong support for the proposed naming, including, as we just heard, 19th Ward Alderman Matt O'Shea. In 2009, the Chicago Park District acquired a 0.5-acre site in the city's Beverly neighborhood. Park 558 is located at 10609 through 15 Southwestern Avenue. This vacant lot was a result of a terrible fire in which firefighters Patrick King and Anthony Lockhart tragically lost their lives in the line of duty. Park improvements designed by Daniel Weinbach and partners have recently been completed. The work includes installing utilities, walkways, trees and lawn, fencing, and a central plaza with bricks that have been laid out in the shape of a Chicago Fire Department shield. There are seat walls inscribed with the words community, duty, courage, pride, family, and sacrifice. 2 pergolas have also been erected in the locations where the firefighters died. The new park serves as a memorial to the 2 heroic firefighters who lost their lives battling a fire at the Beverly Tire Store on February 11, 1998. Patrick King was the product of a firefighting family. Both his father and a brother had also served as members of the Chicago Fire Department. King began his career as a paramedic and was a 22-year veteran of the department. Anthony Lockhart was born and raised in Chicago. He graduated from Dunbar High School, where he was the captain of the wrestling team, and attended the University of Illinois. He went on to work for the U.S. Postal Service for 14 years. In 1989, he realized a lifelong dream of becoming a firefighter. In 1999, Mayor Richard M. Daley dedicated a plaque honoring Patrick J. King and Anthony Lockhart at the site of what is now the park. The plaque has been incorporated into the park's design and is located at the Central Plaza. Community members are in the process of raising funds for additional enhancements to memorializing the firefighters who lost their lives. This new green space provides a fitting memorial to 2 Chicago heroes. As was stated earlier, we are joined today by members of the King family. Mrs. Gina King, Mr. King's widow, Mrs. Dolores King, Mr. King's mother, Mr. John King and his wife Margie, Mr. King's brother, as well as their grandson and Patrick King's great-nephew, Patrick. Thank you.
I will withdraw my prior motion to approve and do it again, both times in honor of firefighter Kane and in honor of firefighter Lockhart. I move to approve this item.
And I would again second it.
If no objection, we'll take the last roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter. We want to thank the families for attending and recognize the great sacrifice that was made. Thank you very much. We're honored that you're here.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
We will now return to the order of business on the agenda. Item number 1, certificate of publication of the annual appropriation ordinance of the Chicago Park District. This will be marked as received and filed by the secretary. Item number 2, approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting held on January 11th, 2012. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the minutes are adopted.
We will now hear 3 presentations from our Chief Program Officer, Vaughn Bryant.
Okay, thank you. First, I want to talk about the Consortium to Lower Obesity in Chicago Women, that's also known as CLOC. This is a nationally recognized childhood obesity prevention program. Their mission is to confront the childhood obesity epidemic by promoting healthy and active lifestyles for children throughout the Chicago and metropolitan area. In honor of CLOC's retiring founder, who also serves as their medical and research director, Dr. Catherine Kaufer Christoffel, CLOC has established the Founders Award. This yearly award will celebrate a Chicagoan for childhood obesity prevention work that has demonstrated exceptional leadership, collaboration, and innovation. We are pleased to announce that the inaugural recipient of the Founders Award will be Colleen Lammel Harmon. So she was presented with this award at the quarterly meeting on December 14th. Colleen.
I just want to thank everyone here and everyone in the communities, and especially the whole team at the Chicago Park District. From the attendants have kicked in, all the way up to Mike Kelly, the superintendent, and everyone here. We have done strides in fighting childhood obesity through our wellness centers, through our early childhood programs, even through our senior programs, because a lot of times there's grandparents. Are there any grandparents here in the audience today? I know that my mother helps raise my kids, so it's really everyone pulling in and choosing better choices, from the vending machine change for the snacks all the way up to the change in program and physical activity minutes. I thank everyone very much.
Colleen, on behalf of the board, we'd like to congratulate you. And anyone who's had any time at the Park District knows what a treasure Colleen is, so congratulations.
Thank you.
We should actually have Colleen perform so we can liven up this place, bring some energy. All right, my second announcement is to recognize the Gym Techniques cheerleading squad. If you look around the room, you'll see their banners up for all of their accolades. We want to recognize them for winning 3 division championships, 2 regional championships, 2 national championships, and they also have 1 international championship. I want to thank the cheerleaders themselves, the parents, and the coaching staff. And I think right now they're going to give us a little bit of a demonstration. No demonstration? Okay. So we can give them another round of applause. I should add that 8 individual cheerleaders are national champions on the individual level as well. Okay.
Okay, we'll probably have if the commissioners wouldn't mind, maybe we can take a picture with the cheerleaders, if that's possible?
I didn't hear you.
If that is okay, sir?
Yeah, we'd love to.
Great. Girls, can you please come up?
Yeah, while they're coming up, I'd like to say I'm really pleased that we're starting to recognize the achievements of our youth in the parks, especially those who achieved this kind of accolades as national champions. We have national champions in baseball, we have national champions in cheerleading, and I think we need to do a better job of celebrating what the Chicago Park District athletes are doing on a national level. And I'm sure we have national champions and great national competitors in lots of other sports, but it's really nice to see you young ladies, and congratulations on your achievement. That is really great.
Would it be better in front? Yeah. Ladies, come back around in front, okay? I want to see all the...
Watch your step, please. Yes, and just, Commissioners, just one more, Ms. Colleen.
Okay.
Yes, one more. Sorry. No, 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 no. Colleen. Colleen.
Clark Park. If Rack, let him do it. But Kelly's gonna tell Travis, so be ready, get to your location in your script, or you might have to step in and coach him. Get Brack. And after that happens, Clark Park is run by Tim King.
This is more than I can process, Mike.
Okay, if I can just have one more minute of your time, I wanted to just give you guys a brief update on CPS Longer School Day. First of all, I want to just say that publicly that Chicago Park District supports the Longer School Day. We're a global city competing in a global market, and we need better education outcomes, and so that's essential for us to continue to compete. I'm on the Longer School Day committee, and you can rest assured that schools will have flexibility in how they implement the Longer School Day. The parks will be a partner in that Longer School Day, and we're meeting with them on a regular basis to make sure we're working in complement with what they're trying to do on a regular basis. So I just wanted to give you that update.
Thanks, Vaughn.
Great. Thank you, Vaughn.
Thank you, Vaughn.
First of all, I'd like to thank the public's indulgence. We're very proud of our own, and we're happy to be able to take some pictures, but thank you. Sorry to hold things up. I'm going to take the chair's prerogative here and go out of order. We have a number of distinguished guests here. So the next item I want to take up is item number 8. And this is going to be from the Chief Financial, and that's page 10 for the board. Item number 8, this is from the Chief Financial Officer, authority to amend the fiscal year 2012 personal property and replacement tax budget for museums in the park to include the Institute of Puerto Rican Arts and Culture.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Steve Hughes, the Chief Financial Officer. It is recommended that the Board of Commissioners amend the fiscal year 2012 budget for museums in the park to include the Institute of Puerto Rican Arts and Culture. The Institute of Puerto Rican Arts and Culture, also known as IPRAC, is an organization founded in 2001 dedicated to showcasing Puerto Rican cultural, historic, and artistic exhibitions. IPRAC has been a partner of the Park District, operating out of the Park District Humboldt Park stables since 2001. At the request of museums in the park, it is recommended that the Park District Board amend the fiscal year 2012 personal property and replacement tax appropriation to MIP to include IPRAC. The total personal property and replacement tax appropriation to MIP will not change, as 6 museums have agreed to lower their appropriation. The revised fiscal year 2012 PPRT budget for museums in the park will not change, although IPRAC will receive $243,407. Now, the museums have agreed to work with IPRAC so that they can receive, so that they can progress to get museum accreditation over time. And I'd like to recognize members of the IPRAC board who are here in the audience, if you'd like to stand. And then also Gary Johnson from MIP. So I'd like to, with the board's approval, I'd like to welcome them to MIP, and with that, I'd like to answer any questions that you might have.
Does the board have any questions regarding this matter? We're also honored to have Gary Johnson of the Chicago History Museum and also Museums in the Park. Would you please address this, Gary?
Mr. President, Commissioners, members of the IPRAC board, it's a very business-like looking resolution presented by the Chief Financial Officer, but I want to express our excitement on behalf of Museums in the Park to welcome you as our newest member and to invite the community as a whole to visit this beautiful facility. They've been in Humboldt Park for a number of years, as you've heard. It's an absolutely beautiful attraction, and I hope we all have an opportunity to visit them, and I pledge to you, the board, and you, the board members of IPRAC, that your sister institutions are going to work with you, and collectively we'll meet our goals together. So welcome to Museums in the Park.
Welcome.
Welcome. Would any of you like to address the board?
Thank you. My name is Ray Vasquez. I'm the proud chairman of the board of the Institute of Puerto Rican Arts and Culture. Today is a great day for, I think, not only the Puerto Rican community of Chicago, but all the citizens of Chicago, because now we've added another cultural institution that really reflects who we are as a city in terms of our diversity and, most importantly, our inclusion of our city leaders to recognize us as that. So on behalf of all these fine people, all the folks back home in Humboldt Park, want to thank you, Superintendent, for all your staff has done, the museum and the parks, and obviously all the commissioners who will hopefully support us today to do that. So thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. I want to congratulate you. Many of you are my friends, and I know you've worked long and hard on this, and again, congratulations.
And congratulations. This is a huge deal at Museums in the Park in Chicago, so congratulations.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the previous matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
And congratulations. And forgive me, we're going out of order once again. Again, because we have some people assembled here and we'd like to hear from them. So I'd like to go to item number 12 on page 12. And this is from the first Deputy General Counsel, authority to enter into various agreements for the development of Clark Park.
Thank you, President Trauberg, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly, General Counsel Garcia. It is my pleasure to announce that under this board administration, the Chicago Park District has become a leader in establishing public-private partnerships among its government brethren, and I'm here to come before you today to share with you another proposed arrangement that will continue in that vein. The opportunity here is for Clark Park, located at 3400 North Rockwell in the Great 47th Ward. The proposed arrangement will provide for the development and operation of a baseball stadium, which is suitable for all levels of baseball play, from Little League on down to up to high school, including all levels of softball, girls softball, men's softball, be a multi-use baseball stadium. The stadium is part of a larger combined vision for the Clark Park area, which is shared by the Park District, the Board of Education, Alderman Amaya Pawar of the 47th Ward, and the Mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel. The long-range plan for the area includes the construction of a boathouse for rowing, a soccer field, and other athletic amenities. The Park District will maintain, manage, and operate the stadium. The Board of Ed and the Park District are negotiating currently a usage component in the agreement, and the Park District will have the ability to permit the stadium out at all times when not in use by the Board of Education. I'd like to go over the funding component of this because I think that's really the exciting part and shows us the level of public-private partnership at play here. We have the Chicago Cubs charities who have committed $1 million to this endeavor. The Chicago Board of Education is committed $750,000 to this endeavor. The Wood Family Foundation has committed $1 million. The City of Chicago, under the leadership of Mayor Emanuel and Alderman Amaya Pawar, have committed $1.25 million out of TIF funds. The Chicago Park District's donation is an amount not to exceed $500,000, and in-kind and other construction services secured by the Chicago Cubs will also be in the range of $500,000. And if you do the math on that, and this is for all of our followers of some of the park partnerships that we've done in the past, we're leveraging here $500,000 for $4.5 million of private and public dollars for a total of $5 million. So it's really a exciting opportunity for the Park District. With that, I'd like to turn it over to somebody who's really taken this project further in the last year than we've gone in the prior 7, and that's the new alderman in the 47th Ward, who's done a great job and become a great leader in City Council, Alderman Amaya Pawar.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Superintendent. Before I begin, I just wanted to say what a pleasure it has been to work with Superintendent Kelly and with Tim King on this project. This process has been collaborative from day one. I took office last May, and we started working with the parks immediately after taking office, and working with the various partners, whether it be the Chicago Public Schools, the parks, and the Chicago Cubs, to make sure that this park becomes a reality. So I wanted to just take a moment to thank them, but I also wanted to take a moment to thank the Clark Park Advisory Council for their leadership, for putting together a vision for this park, a comprehensive vision for this park that I think will be realized over the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And they have sort of laid the foundation, and we're building on that foundation. I know you're going to get a presentation from the Chicago Cubs on this project, but it's important to remember that, should this project move forward, that this will be the only IHSA regulated playoff field on the north side of Chicago. So this project, this Cubs Care Park, will not only benefit the boys and girls that attend Lane Tech or Lakeview or Amos and the schools that are in my ward, but every north side high school. Additionally, it'll also benefit every boy and girl, not only in the city of Chicago, but also on the north side that participates in a Park District program or in a private program. This is a great example of a public-private partnership. The $500,000 that the Park District, should you activate that today, will enable all of us to leverage $4.5 million. So your $500,000 contribution will activate that $4.5 million. This is an example of the type of partnership that not only the Park District, but CPS and the city at large should pursue, given the current fiscal climate. So with that, I just wanted to say that this is a project that is not only near and dear to my heart, but also to the Park District, to the schools, and to the many families. And lastly, a project like this is what keeps families in the city of Chicago. So with that, I humbly ask that the commissioners consider this project and approve it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman.
If we can have Mike Lafrano come up briefly and just show us kind of some of the artist renderings that have been put together for this project.
Thank you, Tim. Commissioners, Superintendent Kelly, it's great to be here in February talking about baseball. It's great to be anywhere talking about baseball. Steve Weiss, who's donated his services until now in putting together some rough sketches or designs so we would have something to talk about, is going to set up a couple of pictures here. While he's doing that, let me just suggest a couple of things as well. This project, if approved, would continue a long history of the partnership between the Park District and the Chicago Cubs. As Tim mentioned, this is a $2.5 million contribution from the team, from Kerry Wood and the Kerry and Sarah Wood Foundation, from Turner Construction, that's going to help us build it. But it also represents a continuing partnership on our part to commit to the parks. I noticed Alderman Ocasio was here a minute ago and left, and I wish he were here and he could talk about Humboldt Park and a project there called Little Cubs Field that we put together about 2 or 3 years ago that is used on a regular basis from the time the snow breaks in the spring until it falls again in November or December. It's a wonderful field that Steve designed and that we built, and that is used in partnership with the community. And I know Commissioner Koldyke can talk about Hamlin Park, and I know we can talk about Thillen Stadium, and those sorts of capital investments. There's also $4.25 million worth of ongoing operational support that we've given since 2005 because we believe in the Park District, because we believe in these efforts throughout the city. And this would continue each of those. What we're going to see here today in a minute are concepts. We haven't yet begun to really design a stadium in earnest. We want to do that in conjunction with the Clark Park Advisory Council, with those in the community, because to us it's important that this be a community project. We don't get into this business to do things just on our own. We want to do it in partnership with the City of Chicago, with the Park District, and with those who live in the neighborhood and will use it. And as Tim King mentioned, this park is for everybody. The genesis of this is worth a minute talking about. there is no high school baseball stadium, I believe, in the city of Chicago, unless someone tells me otherwise, not just on the north side, that meets IHSA standards for playoff baseball. That is to say, when Chicago public school kids qualify for the playoffs, they're playing their games on the road. When I told that to Kerry Wood, who, as you know, has been a Cub for many, many years, he said, that's horrible. How do kids play? We went beyond that. We said it's not just Chicago public school kids. It's Park District kids. If you look at the RBI programs that we fund in many of our parks throughout the year, thousands of 13 to 18-year-olds playing high school baseball every summer. They're playing on dirt fields. They're playing on fields that we can do better, and we want to do better. He said, how can we help? I said, well, we're working with the Park District on a project at Clark Park. He said, I'm in. Let's go. We are here today to tell you that with your approval, we will get moving in earnest on putting together designs, on working out the agreements that I know need to be in place to make this happen. But we want to build this, and we want to get it done soon because we know there are kids who can benefit from playing in a stadium like this. With that, let me talk a little bit about the designs and the things you're seeing. The picture on your left tells you sort of the area that we're talking about. This is Clark Park as it exists today. There's a discussion going on that I believe is close to agreement to acquire that portion of the DeVry University parking lot. That parking lot there is DeVry University, to get us a little more space so we don't have a short porch in right field. But the project takes place all to the east of Rockwell Avenue, Rockwell Drive. We don't move the street, which was, I know, one of the concerns of the Clark Park Advisory Group. It takes place to the south of the Lane Tech Football Stadium, which leaves open a whole expanse of land alongside the football stadium, just to the west, if you will, the stadium, that's going to be used, hopefully developed soccer fields, lacrosse fields, or something else over time. This picture here on the right tells you a little bit more about how the stadium would fit into that design. It's designed for high school baseball, which means it'll have 90-foot bases, it'll have a pitcher's mound, but it can also be used for any other sort of field or any other sport of baseball, softball, or otherwise that could play on that diamond. We anticipate a turf field. That is to say, not one that we have to worry about grass getting torn up or turf getting torn up during the course of the season. It'll last longer and hopefully stay green. That's a picture looking down Addison with a little sign to let people know where it comes from. And here's a picture that we showed a little bit earlier to Alderman Pawar and to the Clark District Advisory Group who are here, or at least some of them, about that expanse of land I talked about on the west side of the stadium. A lot of green between Addison and where the stadium would be. It's very far set back, and it's off of Rockwell, but it does give us an area. There is a Lane Tech baseball field back there, which the school would tell you they have a hard time using because it's just really not conducive to their high school baseball program. So that sort of shows you how it fits in. And again, I'm staying away from commenting on the design because we really haven't finalized any sort of design. Steve's done a wonderful job putting something together to give us an idea of what it might look like, but we're not going to finalize this till we go out to Clark Park and make sure we meet with everybody there to talk to the people who are going to use it, to make sure we design something that fits in with the community, that fits in with the high school programs throughout the city that'll use it, and that really makes sense for everybody who's going to be participating. That's what we have. I'm happy to take any questions, but before I stop talking, I do want to send a special thanks to Tim King and to Superintendent Kelly for their work in getting us to this point today, to Alderman Pawar, who really has moved this forward, and from the day we mentioned it to him, said, how can we help? Let's get this done. To Steve, our architect, and to Pat Taylor and the folks at CPS, too, who have been partners with this, and I think will be good partners for everybody going forward. So thank you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Will the stadium of this quality, field of this quality, allow IHSA to have a regional championship, sectional championship, and maybe more the state championship held at this?
I don't know about state championships, but regional championships and playoff games, certainly that's part of our goal, and we've talked to them to make sure that as we design it, it'll meet their standards so they can do that sort of thing. State championships, they generally play in other bigger stadiums.
What do you envision as a completion date?
Well, we've got to get started first. The project will take, Steve, about 5 months to build once we get in the ground. We've got to work out that agreement I mentioned with DeVry. I know there's going to be a use agreement between the Park District and CPS. Once those are all done, we've held off to this point really spending any significant dollars till we knew everybody is in and going forward. But once we do shovels in the ground, it's about 5 months to finish building.
So you see it happening in 2012 or more
I
like
would
2013?
love it if it would happen in 2012. That would be our goal.
Tell us a little bit about the turf. You mentioned the turf that you intend to have there.
The turf we used at Little Cubs Field in Humboldt Park is a field turf product. Works pretty well for baseball. There's 2 or 3 companies that I'm sure you're probably as familiar with as we are that make them, and we would obviously bid it to make sure we got the best bid. But the turf field is generally better on the knees, it's better for the kids, and it creates a field that's usable all year long.
So you're going to have a similar one to Humboldt Park, the one?
Very similar to Humboldt
I'm familiar with that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that my daughter's home soccer field is that Lane Tech Stadium. And Mike, you and I have talked about this on and off for a year now. And every time I'm at her game, I stare at that open field, and I envision that new stadium showing up. I'm so excited it's coming to us today, because this is going to be great. And the only thing that I think we're going to focus in on is we must make this facility multi-use, from length of bases. It can be outlined for IHSA, spec for IHSA, but we've got to have the 45 and the 60-foot bases available for all the kids in Chicago to enjoy this facility. We can't build it just for the high school kids.
Okay.
I understand that's the primary purpose, and it's got to be ready for IHSA, but we've got to be able to have Little League competitions there and other competitions there as well.
And Mike, I'm sure you've heard Laird loud and clear, but at some point we're going to take a vote on this, and if you do have authorization to enter into these things, then we need a report back on where this ends up.
Yes, of course. So this is a preliminary. When you do a public-private partnership, and I want to recognize as well the Cubs' generosity, their willingness to partner with us. They've come to the table almost annually now. Besides Cubs Care and their generosity, they've come with one of these unbelievable projects. This is just the latest. And I also want to recognize not only Alderman Pawar, who hit the ground running, but the Clark Park Advisory Council, who we rely on heavily, both with this project and when we put this deal together and going forward. That area, as we all know, is really undergoing a very exciting transformation. So, in a long way to answer your question, yes, I will bring back to you and any other board member who would like to see what the final deal looks like prior to me executing it.
And I think it's appropriate that the Cubs and all the other participants, but specifically Kerry Wood and his wife and their family. It's great to see a professional athlete whose much of his career has been here take up a cause and put some money down on the table to help the community where he's played most of his career. I think it's real recognition for what he's doing for us. It's great. I assume this will be lit?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Any other discussion from the board or questions? I have to apologize. One of the problems I've created by doing things out of order is if we have anyone from the people in the parks who are going to comment on this project, I would like to hear those comments now so you have a chance to comment before we vote.
We ask that you please limit your comments to 2 minutes.
Hi, Kenneth Newman. I would just like to say that if we're going to have a soccer field here, I want to make sure it's at least 70 to 75 yards wide, and that the type of track built, if possible, will be a broken back track versus a long, narrow track as we see on the diagram, because we want the field to be wide enough for soccer. 55 to 60 yards is not wide enough for soccer. Thank you.
There's a soccer field there now.
My name is George Blakemore, and I'm a concerned citizen. I come
Could you speak
here.
up, please?
My name is George Blakemore, and as a concerned citizen, when I come to these meetings, I get informed, enlightened. So then it triggers me to get engaged. This presentation, I couldn't see it with technology here. Perhaps it could have been put up on with the cameras where we could see exactly what was going on. But however, one of the board members did ask a very vital question. These partnerships between the Park District, private people, and the citizens that live in the area, they have a right also to use these facilities. So right now, even before it's being built, you should have a time element that citizens can use it, the schools will be able to use it. So it has to be a shared process, just not the schools using this. And I get kind of passionate and engaged by being civics is very important to me. So I have seen where the schools come in and dominate all the time, and the people in, I'm repeating myself, and the people in the community is not able to use the facilities. And one board
You have
member—
30 seconds remaining?
Yes, but one board member also made, I would like to know, and I'm sure that how will it only be baseball, then it comes in with artificial turf, and that's still up for grab if it's safe. It's many issues that have been presented here, and I would hope that you would defer this item until some of these issues that I brought up.
You have exceeded your 2 minutes.
Until some of these issues that I brought up will be addressed. The time that the community can use it, the time that the schools can use it, and even with the lighting. What type of lighting? Will this lighting be going down? Will it be a light pollution to people in the community? These are questions that should be addressed before you vote. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Richard Costello. I'm on the Clark Park Advisory Committee, and we've been together for 15 years. We have a lot at stake at in this park, these projects. And I'm here to basically say it's very exciting that we have capital projects coming our way. We're also concerned because when all these major constructions come into our small little park, we have, we're worried about things like parking and so forth, and the people that are currently using the parks. All we're here to do today is to make sure that we have a seat at the planning phase, which hasn't happened yet. It's coming. I had a great meeting with Tim King this morning, and we just, we understand the process. We are going to work with the process. We've already been involved. We gave the architects some ideas about where to put the stadium. They took those ideas, and we want to continue to work with them and work as a partner. So with that, I just want to make sure that we have a seat at the table, and thank you very much for all your work.
Any other comments then?
No further comments regarding Clark Park, sir.
Okay, so we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the previous matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Okay, now we're going to return to next on the agenda on page 5 is people in the parks. Will the secretary please call the names of those who have signed up to speak? And we have today a new feature where when there's 30 seconds left, you'll hold up a sign to let people know where they are. Thank you.
All right, our first 3 speakers who signed up online are Bill Barnes, Leroy Bowers, Cecilia Butler. Anyone? Mr. Barnes? Mr. Bowers? Ms. Butler, I see she's making her way to the podium. While we await Ms. Butler, we'll start with Mr. Kenneth Green, William Hill, and Mr. Oswald can start to make their way towards the podium as well.
Are you expanding your efforts to the 47th Ward?
I went over there. This is the alderman that's not taking his entire salary, and we all need to thank him for it. That's all I have to,
Okay.
This alderman from the 42nd Ward does not take that $100,000 plus salary, and all taxpayers in this city need to thank him for it. So I appreciate it, and I did go to his office. Cecilia Butler, Washington Park. We have some issues. We have some good stuff, too. The issues first. I really hate it when people come to our meetings and talk about how other parks are charging less to use their park. People have told me that we've had teams to cancel in Washington Park to go to another park because it's lower. Now, we here in the city of Chicago believe in transparency. So, I suggest if the fees are higher in Washington Park, up everybody's. If the fees are lower, lower them in Washington Park. But no advisory council should ever hear that there's a fee problem throughout the city. And I've been hearing it for a while, and I'm only bringing it to you now. So for us to deal with, this is something that our former commissioner used to come to talk to the people at Washington Park to understand the problem. So now I think we need one.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Okay. The second piece that I'm extremely proud about is the Dr. Margaret Burroughs stamp. Dr. Margaret Burroughs stamp. We know that she's always told us about legacy, and in the past 2 weeks, Mr. John Johnson received his stamp. His daughter said it took 2 years. Now, Superintendent and Commissioners, who is going to be assigned? Who is going to be assigned to work with Washington Park Advisory Council and others on the Dr. Margaret Burroughs stamp? Okay? Get in contact with me, but we must do this.
I will get in contact with you.
Okay.
Mr. Green?
She's pushing it.
Good afternoon. I'm Kendall Green.
Please speak up.
Speak up, please. I'm sorry.
Commissioner of Washington Park, 16 in softball, also at Garfield out west, and now Abbott Park on 95th Street. And it's like Cecilia said, I got one park charged me a large amount and one park a low amount. And then I would like to know the policy for 501c3s to use in the park, or some of the park let me use the 501c3 and I don't have to pay as much, and then one park won't let me do it. So if somebody can, give me information on the policy or tell me how that goes, so I have better knowledge of it a little later.
I mean, the hard fast rule is a 501c3 gets a half price discount on whatever the permit fee we designate for use. I think, though, it would be more appropriate to give you more background on the fees we charge is direct you to either Vaughn Bryant or Steve Hughes. I see Steve, our CFO, standing up. He can give you more information, I think, on your question. And then we'll look at these fees and let them know what the parks we're talking about, and we'll get back to you on it.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Hill?
Good evening. I'm not going to take too much of your time. I just want to mention the fact that Washington Park has been selected to go into the Hall of Fame as a Field of Dreams. I think I made this announcement last year, and the information I have, I'd like to give to them.
Thank you. Congratulations on that.
Every time you say you're going to retire, I see it. See it.
Mr. Oswald?
Good afternoon, and I want to welcome everyone to the south side and to as many parks. Some are very historic, some are fairly new, some are extremely large and full of nature areas and sports areas and picnicking areas, and some are smaller ones that mostly neighbors can enjoy. I represent the South Shore Cultural Center Advisory Council, which is a really active place with several concerts each year, and we have 3 of them going on in February, 2 of which are in partnership with the Park District, with unusual groups coming, the Fifth House, and also we're partnering to do a new opera that's in development about the 1963 March on Washington, and it's called the March, and that's on February 26th at 4 p.m. It's free. These are free, and we hope that everyone will come out. Also, Jackson Park is another council that's been greatly reorganized over the last year. Very active. We do workshops. We do cleanups. We work in partnership with the Park District and with contractors to make this a wonderful place. And we're developing our nature trail now, and we haven't, I'll give only a few copies of them, but Fran Vandervoort of there will give copy
30 seconds
to
remaining.
to the members of the board, and explains about how we restore natural areas, develop nature trails, involve the community, promote park history and Chicago history, and we nurture sports and recreation. So many wonderful things are going on now in our parks, and it's hard, we're trying to keep things going with considering the economy and everything. But when we're Chicagoans, and when the tough gets going,
You
the
have
going
exceeded
get
your 2
tough.
minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bowers, is that you? How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm Leroy Bowers with the Washington Park Advisory Councils. Good afternoon, Commissioners, Mr. President, Mr. Superintendent. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak this afternoon. I want to follow up on Washington Park, and we see that we are moving forward with the drainage as well as the new dirt that's been put on the fields. We're looking at the support coming in from Senator Matty Hunter for the night lights for Diamond One. And we want to follow up on that from last year. Also want to really thank, of course, Commissioner Koldike and also Commissioner Hanlon on their support for the after-school programs and also our high school programs that are playing. And then, of course, Commissioner Hanlon has created a new program that is going to be traveling for our little leaguers, which is going to really be great. And just great to see you all here in Black History Month in the heart of the Black community, the historic North Kenwood, Oakland community. Of course, this is Muddy Waters Avenue, even though we named 43rd Street Muddy Waters Way, but actually he lived on 43rd in Lake Park. I was his paper boy back in the day. And all the stars was from here, so it's great to hear all the cultural and athletic programs that's going on as we move forward to make our communities better and safer. So I want to thank you, want to follow up on those initiatives, and I'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Is that you, Mr. Green? Okay.
Ken Newman.
Okay. Oh, that's Mr. Newman. Okay, so our next 3 speakers will be Mr. Kenneth Newman, Ms. Irma Tranter, and Ms. C.C. Edwards.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Commissioners, Mr. CEO, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Garcia. While I usually speak about have an interest in soccer, I also come from the last generation of those who played ice hockey in the city before McFetrich was built. And I've been skating on the Midway and at other rinks in the last couple of months. However, the conditions of the rinks, the running of the operation of the rinks is something to be very concerned about. I don't know all the details of the contract between West Trek, or shall I call it West Rec, since they're out of the West, and frankly, some of the rinks are a wreck. Why, for instance, at the Midway Plaisance, which I skate at a lot, are some of the board gates tied together with shoelaces? The heating lamps that are on the outside of the building there were finally fixed after a year. There were 8 heat lamps. They were finally fixed last week, and they had been out for over a year, according to what people have told me. Why do hockey players pay $7 to play ice hockey when the ice has not been resurfaced and or there is snow from the previous night that has not been shoveled or plowed off? Is it possible for the Park District to have a pickup truck with a snow plow that could get most of the snow off of a rink on a Saturday or Sunday morning? There are at least 3 overhead lights at the Midway Plaisance that are burnt out. No
30
bulbs
seconds
have been put in
remaining.
them. And does the Park District have a snorkel?
Ken, could you, Alonzo Williams, he's over the West Trek contract. He can help you with that.
Anyway, the bulbs have been burned out all winter, and they haven't been rebuilt. The lighting there for hockey at night is frankly terrible and almost dangerous. I would hope that the lighting could be improved. There are floodlights brought in, temporary lights each night for hockey.
You have exceeded your
There's
2
not
minutes.
Couple more things. The lines on the boards for ice hockey
Thank you.
need repairing, need repainting, and I would like to see advertising on the boards for revenue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I am not Irma Tranter.
You can turn
Maria
it
Stone,
down.
Friends of the Park. Yesterday, Friends of the Park submitted a letter to the commissioners and President Traubert and Superintendent Kelly regarding the Northerly Island plan. We just wanted to make sure that you do take our concerns and suggestions for Northerly Island. We submitted 6 recommendations, and we just hope that as you continue the planning process, you take that into consideration.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Edwards? Okay, our last 3 speakers. Oh, there she is. While Ms. Edwards is making her way towards the podium, our last 3 speakers are George Blakemore, Barry Kelly, and May Toy.
Sorry for that delay. Happy New Year to the board members, and also want to congratulate Mr. Kelly. I told you you'd be the. I knew it, but anyway, I had full confidence. Also, I wanted to welcome the new board members as well. I'm Cece Edwards. I'm from Grand Crossing Park. I'm the Advisory Council President, and we're here today to talk to you about the capital improvements for the park. Now, the community has invested their fair share of that amount to get it going. We did do about $250,000 in park improvements. So the revenues are up, so we have to have the windows. The windows are falling out of the sashes. We have some that have completely fell out of the whole window, like this whole thing is gone. So what we're worried about is that you may have an infestation of possums, squirrels, and other rodents and other insects getting into the building. This we don't want. You know, we've finally got it to a point where we've got it up to speed, and we really like to keep it that way. So anything that the board can do to help us get those windows, we did ask for it on the capital improvement budget as well. I'd also like to get an administrator, one of the 60 that the mayor has, solicited to come out to the parks. I know you have a couple at South Shore. I would like to get one to come over, meet with the Park Advisory Council and the park supervisor. Whenever they choose, we have our next board meeting February 29th or March 28th, and we'd like to have them help us to get our programming up to speed. And we'd also like to request that maybe one meeting in 2013 you might have at Grand Crossing Park like you have here. We would love you to have that. We have a 20-acre facility, and we would love you to be there. And we'd also like you to see if we could get an assessment of our sports equipment. And that's pretty much it. And I'd like to thank Mrs. Milan and Pat LeVar and Adam Swerner and Barbara
You've exceeded your 2 minutes.
for all of the beautiful amenities and hard work. And I think as a community, with us constantly working together, we can save
Thank
our
you.
children and also save our park. Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yes,
Am I to understand that right now you have windows that are completely open, they are not boarded at all?
No, they're, yes, ma'am. And they've fallen out of the sash. It's completely, you could just look in from the street. When you walk through the park, you could see it. And you can't miss it. You could see it when you walk up to the building. So we're like, how many are missing? We know that there's one there. There's another on the other side. So we need these windows. They were ordered at one point, and then we didn't get
You
them.
need weatherproofing, and you need for them to be rodent-proof right now then.
Well, you know, this window has been missing for a few, maybe a year or more. So you know about it? Okay. Pat knows about it.
Ms. Edwards and I have been, Pat LeVar, Chief Operating Officer. Ms. Edwards and I have been working a long time on the different issues at Grand Crossing for my 7 years at the park. What she's referring to is it's a double pane window. One of the panes are broken. She is correct. The sash it's on the 2012-2013 capital list. We hope to get it done this year.
So it's a double pane window.
It's a double
There
pane.
is
The
one,
single
a
pane-
single pane there, but not a
Single pane's there, the double's not.
Okay. Thank you.
I think we're really looking at a total capital, it's on the budget, to replace the windows in Grand
Thank you.
Crossing Park. So in answer to your question, Commissioner, that's what we're trying to do.
Right.
Get them all replaced, that where they need to be, you know? So thank you so much.
Thank
Any
you.
more questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Barry Kelly. I also am on the Grand Crossing Advisory Committee. Just want to start off by saying, Superintendents, Commissioners, thank you for allowing us this time to speak on today. And I'd actually like to piggyback off of CC's second issue, the need for us to have an administrator to come down and kind of reassess our programming. Right now, Monday through Friday, the only program we have available to children 6 through 10 is our Park Kids program, which is, when it was created, it was designed as an introductory to sports program for children. But what we're actually seeing is that we have very, very few children attending the program, as it doesn't address.
Have you met Vaughn Bryant yet, our new chief programming officer? Is Vaughn in the gym?
Vaughn, anybody there?
He's right there.
All right, CC has. I haven't spoken to him.
Okay.
Vaughn, I'll back talk in just a second. My concern, let me actually speak more to my hope than my concern. The concerns have already been voiced. We don't have high enough attendance, considering the historic nature of the park, considering the community's investment in the park. My hope is that with an administrator from the park board to come down, we'll be able to speak to the best practices from equally equipped parks, perhaps a redesign of our fee schedule and our program offerings.
I absolutely am committing Vaughn Bryant as the administrator to work with you on your fee schedule and your programs.
Thank you, sir.
I don't need a handshake for that. That was easy. That was easy. That was easy.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Again, to the citizens and to the staff.
Speak up.
To the citizen, to the staff, and to the superintendent. My name is George Blakemore, and I have attended these Park District meetings. And when you bring them out into the community, you no longer have these committee meetings in the morning. So I would attend the committee meetings in the morning and speak on items. And then I would come at the 4 o'clock meeting and speak on the Friends in the Park. So I hope that one wouldn't think that I'm abusing the process by speaking twice today, because I would have had a chance. Usually when you go into the park, they do not have these committee meetings. So I'm looking back at item 8, which have been passed, and in the future, I think that all items, before one of these items are passed, it will give the opportunity of the citizens to speak on this item. I was very confused about this item 8, and some questions that probably staff, if you can't answer them, or if you won't answer them now, perhaps after I sit down, somebody will give me this information. Everything should be transparent. In reading this particular so-called museum in the park is not open like the other museum 7 days a week.
30 seconds remaining.
It's stated that this museum is not an accredited museum. Also, it states that 6 of the museums in the park decided to give a portion of their money to this Puerto Rican museum. I'm wanting to know what 6 that decided to give their portion and what 4 that didn't.
Largest.
These are questions that, as a citizen,
You have exceeded your 2 minutes.
that should be transparent. You should let the citizens here know. A little more detail should be about this museum. And when it says it's going to be accredited in the process, It's
Thank you.
something that I think should be looked at very, very closely. And perhaps if you don't want to tell me now in a public setting, one of your staff will address these issues and let me know what 4 that didn't and what 6 that did give their proportion of that money. Thank you again, and it's taxpayers' money. All of you have a peaceful and blessed day, and happy Black History Month. Thank you.
Tim, later you worked on this issue. I wonder if you'd spend some time with George and try to answer his questions. Thanks.
Happy New Year. Whatever you prefer.
Wow, look at this.
Hello, my name is May Toy, and I'm president of the Skinner Park Advisory Council. I have a small gift for you. It's our annual Skinner Park dog calendar. We do this for the past 10 years. And I also have a list of concerns. You know, that's my second package. One is about the graffiti from gangbangers that's at our park. And they've been coming back and damaging the bleachers, and they've been dumping the wood in the playground. And my request there is simple. I would like the bleachers removed so that gangbangers have nowhere to hang out. Secondly, I got concerned about when the young students. I raised this to the park staff repeatedly. Those students are there at lunchtime and after school when the park supervisor is there. Every time I come by at lunch, I catch these kids, okay? They're graffitiing N-word, every 4-letter word that you see, and I took pictures of it. And you can read it for yourself. I find it quite offensive, and it goes on, and more is added every single day, okay? Then just before Christmas, residents caught these same students uprooting trees that we planted. The advisory council donated to the park at a cost of $2,000. And then my next set of concerns is really about how I really want the park district to work with us, okay? As you know, we like free events at our park for our community, and we work really hard for it. You know,
30 seconds remaining.
And basically, we were told that we couldn't fundraise this year because the park district had a concession. Then it turns out nobody could produce a concession permit, okay? I asked for it, nobody could produce one. A park supervisor allowed this concession to come in, okay? Nobody had a concession, okay? I filed FOIA and no concession agreement exists. Then, high five again, okay? You can read for yourself. I detail out this thing, but after
You have
coming here
exceeded your
since
2 minutes.
2004, it's really frustrating to me. The high five, we repeatedly catch them using our park for free, and yet the park staff, the one permit they given a discount for, okay? Then I was told we couldn't fundraise using these dog calendars, okay?
Thank you.
And I find it really offensive after this year that we spent $8,000, okay, putting in new drinking fountains at our park. After 10 years, I find out that the park district has been every year
You have
ripping off
exceeded
our
your 2
sign
minutes.
for these
Thank
dog
you.
calendars, okay? And so I would like the park district to not
Maeve,
to
or
work
May-
with us and not against us when we fundraise.
I have all your concerns. My staff will work with you on these.
Thank
okay?
you.
We have one more speaker, Mr. Mark Carroll.
Thank you.
Hey, guys, I'll keep it real quick, but one thing I want to talk about is 4 sports, alternative sports in Chicago: sailing, rowing, paddling, and cycling. These 4 sports are very old in the city of Chicago, been around for a long time. I think that we need to work on paying more attention to them to let kids know in public schools and different groups that this is available, in fact. All these 4 sports they're available to everybody. They're sports where adults can row with their children, which is in line with Let's Move initiative from First Lady Michelle Obama to have children to be active with their parents. All 4 of these sports are 100% adaptive. which means that today there's no learning curve for these sports to become adaptive. They already are. And so I'd like to suggest that there are people in the community who would like to work with the Park District to make sure that all these great assets that are being developed with the velodrome down the south side just close to here, or cycling areas or bicycling areas or rowing or paddling or whatever, that we want to be there to help advise the Park District so these places can get utilized properly. So that's it.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
There are no more speakers.
At this time, the Board of Commissioners will go into executive session to consider various matters which are, pursuant to the Illinois Open Meetings Act, appropriately discussed in executive session. There will be a discussion of 2 workers' compensation cases. Have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. The meeting is now in executive session. Return to open session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion's carried. Return to open session. The Board of Commissioners has met in executive session to discuss 2 workers' compensation cases and had the following matter of new business. The Board of Commissioners approved the settlement of Jesse Howard versus Chicago Park District in the amount of $52,307.43. Is there a motion to approve the matter?
So moved.
Second.
Will the Secretary take a roll call vote for the adoption of the matter?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Shalaby?
Aye.
Commissioner Koldak? Commissioner Hanlon?
Aye.
Commissioner Lavelle?
Aye.
Commissioner Salgado?
Aye.
Commissioner Koldak, I'm going to call your name one more time.
Aye.
Thank you. President Trobert?
Aye.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
The Board of Commissioners also approved the settlement of Stefano Meda versus Chicago Park District in the amount of $75,000. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Having heard unfinished business earlier, we move on to new business. Under new business, item number 7 from the Director of Purchasing, amendment to Chapter 11 of the Code of the Chicago Park District.
President Traubert, Commissioners, General Superintendent and CEO Kelly, my name is Rafi Sarafi and I'm the Director of Purchasing. And I'm here today to recommend that the Board of Commissioners grant authority to amend Chapter 11, Section D of the Code of the Chicago Park District to add new paragraphs regarding cooperative purchasing, electronic signatures, and alternative procurement methods. Section 7.02 of the Chicago Park District Act enables the Board of Commissioners to, quote, establish by ordinance all needful rules and regulations for the government and protection of parks. Alternative procurement methods are generally automated variations of the traditional procurement methods currently used by the Department of Purchasing. Reverse auctions and electronic bidding are examples of new procurement methods that would allow purchasing to move more of the CPD's solicitation process to the Internet. Additional benefits from utilizing these alternative procurement methods would include improved efficiency in purchasing's operations, more competitive solicitations, and the likelihood of better pricing. Further, new procurement methods may be developed in the future, and purchasing would like to explore those opportunities as pilot programs. Undertaking these efforts would also mean the CPD would be joining the increasing number of public procurement agencies like the City of Chicago and sister agencies that currently use these and other alternative procurement methods. And lastly, electronic signatures would be necessary to accommodate automation of the solicitation process on the Internet. In the interest of seeking best value for the Chicago Park District, purchasing has been participating in contracts with the City of Chicago. This interest in pursuing best value and efficiency in the CPD's procurement operations may lead purchasing to consider participating in contracts with other federal, state, and local entities or a group or consortium of the same, which are a product of a public procurement process. Illinois law allows for governmental units such as the Chicago Park District to purchase cooperatively with one or more other governmental units which are competitively bid through the public process. Additionally, purchasing may be interested in participating in solicitations with other federal, state, or local entities at the time of advertisement. It is therefore recommended that Section D of Chapter 11 of the Code of the Chicago Park District be amended to add new paragraphs regarding cooperative purchasing, electronic signatures, and alternative procurement methods. The amendment will become effective upon approval by the Board of Commissioners. Are there any questions?
So moved.
Second.
Will the Secretary take a roll call for the adoption of the matter?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Shalaby?
Aye.
Commissioner Koldak?
Aye.
Commissioner Hanlon?
Aye.
Commissioner Lavelle?
Aye.
Commissioner Salgado?
Aye.
President Trobert?
Aye.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Item number 9 from the Deputy Director of Park Services, authorization to enter into a contract for the management and operation of Northerly Island Concert Venue.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Superintendent Kelly. It is recommended that the General Superintendent and CEO or his designee enter into a contract with Live Nation Chicago Incorporated for the purpose of managing and operating the Northerly Island Concert Venue. The contractor was selected pursuant to a publicly advertised request for proposal. No work may commence, and no payment shall be made to vendor prior to the execution of a written agreement. The Chicago Park District requires the services and staff of a firm to manage and operate the Northerly Island concert venue. Services to be provided include, but are not limited to, booking and scheduling acts, providing security and medical services during the events, opening the box office, concessions, advertising and marketing, and maintaining and keeping the venue clean, orderly, and safe condition at all times. Live Nation has been managing and operating Northerly Island concert venues since the opening in 2005. Sorry. They have the experience and capability to manage, operate the venue. Therefore, it is the best interest of the Chicago Park District to recommend Live Nation for award for the management and operation of the Northerly Island concert venue. We do have with us some representatives from Live Nation Chicago for any questions.
Lonzo, can I ask a question? So we put this out to competitive bid.
Correct.
And we got how many bids?
We got one.
And so why do you think that is? And what did we do to try to make sure we got more than one bid?
You know what? From my understanding from talking to some other individuals who we did talk to, it's a different beast. SMG was one of the individuals who did come to the early briefing, and they said that's kind of not part of their business, as well as another competitor was Jam Productions, correct, thank you. And they all pretty much talked about what we're offering at Northerly Island is not part of their business model.
So we made could you think of any more effort you could have made to try to get more bids than one bid?
I mean, Rafi, you begged for other bids, did you not?
Commissioners, Rafi Sarafian. When the bid went out, we reached out to those who previously expressed interest in this solicitation. As you recall, that we bid this out previously a few times, and we also look at our vendor database, and we look the internet, and we do a thorough job of reaching out to anyone and everyone who we think might be interested. And SMG and Jam Productions did download the solicitation, and like most of our operation and purchasing, post bid, we reach out to firms that download our solicitations but don't submit to learn why they did not. We reached out to both Jam and to SMG, and they both said the same thing that Alonzo just said. Our business model is not their business model. What that means is we're asking in our cost proposal in this RFP for firms to pay us a rent, and on top of that, share in the revenue. And both of them said that places too much of the risk on them, the operator, and the Park District gets most of the guarantee. And they prefer not to enter into that sort of an arrangement with the Park District. So that's the prevailing reasons why.
Okay, I had another question. If you look through the years at that venue, the trend of number of summer events has been trending down. Last year it was particularly low. Did we have 8 events there last year? Is that the right number? I think so.
It was 8 or 9, I think.
All right. So, so I wondered if you could comment on that trend, and what are our expectations this summer for number of events?
If I can defer to Live Nation, they're
Please,
here.
yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Campana. I'm the co-president for North American operations for the concert company. And I believe there's a direct correlation between the process and the date by which we receive confirmation of being able to book the facility. We stand here today at the beginning of February, and I'm pleased that the process actually was sped up a bit from last year. Last year we didn't receive permission to begin booking the facility until March 9th. We believe there's a direct correlation between the amount of time to plan and secure talent. If you look at the schedule that you may have before you going back to the beginning of the facility in 2005, you'll find that we had a guarantee of 2 operating seasons, and we were able to book in advance. The longer we were able to book in advance, the more shows we'll be able to provide for the city and ultimately for that venue. We would ask that any and all process that could be put into place that would allow us a further out in front of the operating season, we would be in a better position to secure talent. And unfortunately for the Northerly Island facility, when a lot of venues are being booked almost a year to 14 months in advance, it does put that facility at a disadvantage.
So just tell us as a board.
Yes, sir.
what's the critical time that we need to be voting on this to get this to you to have the most concerts possible in the summer?
We are the producers of Alpine Valley and the Tinley Park facility, by example, here in the marketplace, along with, I think we're one of your top tenants over at Soldier Field. Those events and those facilities are booked outside of a year in advance. So in the case of when we're looking at a Soldier Field event, we're usually looking at that event sometime in, if it's a July or August event, we're probably looking at that approximately July or August the year before.
Are your contracts with those venues longer contracts?
We are the owner of the facility in Tinley Park, and we are a tenant of the landlord in Alpine Valley, and that contract was a 20-year contract, and that expires in, I believe, 19. My associate is here, 2019.
So I would just like to ask, as you know, if we know that we have this facility and we're going to want to book it, that we try to figure out, give us the best chance for success, and bring this to us with the kind of lead time we know we need to be as successful as we can be.
Absolutely, President. There were some unique circumstances the past few years that precluded us from advertising this RFP sooner. In 2010, recall, Northerly Island played a big part in the city's Olympic bid. That precluded us from moving forward and advertising for any type of venue at Northerly Island until that decision in Copenhagen came down in October. And so for 2010, we were behind the curve already. And then for 2011, recall, we put out a two-step RFP for a larger facility at Northerly Island. We advertised that about a year ago, and then we started looking. There were 4 respondents to that process, Live Nation being one of them, and then through that process we learned that the economics for the large-scale brand new facility that we were seeking through that process, the economics really did not work for that. There really was limited self-financing opportunities. So that put us behind the advertisement curve, so to speak. And then once we decided to move ahead with the current venue, we were already into the late summer, early fall of last year. So there were exigent circumstances that precluded us from advertising the RFP in a more timely way. But then the term that we advertised for this RFP, it's a 2-year initial term with 3 one-year options. And like all of our solicitations, termination for convenience is standard language in it, and all the options are exercisable at our discretion.
But on that note, I want to stress that our team did put forth a great effort to get this turned around as fast as possible. It goes without saying, we've learned this the hard way. The sooner you get a vendor in the door, the sooner they can book talent. I've worked with Mark and Carl and their team now coming on, I think we're coming on year 7, year 8. They are a very good team, and I look forward to a long, prosperous relationship with them for the next probably 5 years.
Okay, quick question for the gentleman from Live Nation. I've had several in the last probably 5 years. Angry parents approach me. Some voters approach me regarding the bands at the venue, particularly during daytime shows. I know that venue is very close to I think Roosevelt or 12th Street Beach. Obviously, the boaters are out there during the daytime, and there's been a couple of events where there's been really heavy foul language, repetitive over and over again, to the point that people were frustrated because they had their kid there at the beach, and things were being said, and to the point I think the boaters even revolted one year where they were blowing their horns the entire concert, which I thought was a very interesting response to dull that out. And I don't know that you guys were involved with us at that point. I guess my question being is, do you try to put some consideration in these things? Okay, it's a daytime show here. We need to have it toned down, or we need to have a band here that's going to remain toned down, whether there's kids on the beach or there's kids on boats, versus having a more provocative show taking place at nighttime. I think is a reasonable time to have something like that. Do you take these things into consideration?
Yes, the incident that you referenced when the boaters reacted to the facility was, I believe, 4 years ago now.
That sounds about right.
I believe it was 4 years ago. And I take personal responsibility for that, as I did with my staff and on behalf of the company. The reason that I take responsibility for that is because we made a poor programming decision. And what we did was we put an all-day event on Northerly Island, which ran perpendicular with what was really the use of the harbor and the length of show that we ran and the amount of, in the opinion of the boaters, the amount of noise that we were creating. So what we've done since then is a number of things. First of all, we're very cognizant of the boaters, and when we are programming, we take into account what are the heavy use of the harbor, when do we have a lot of activity out there, and then also we're fairly limited in terms of the length of our shows now. When we first opened the facility, we did a number of all-day festivals, and I believe that aggravated some of the boaters, and to that end, we've reacted to it. On the language, Commissioner, I'm sorry, I can't control an artist when they have the microphone in their hand, whether we're out at Northerly Island or at the United Center. I recognize that at the United Center, it's contained and we don't run into those problems. We do put into our contracts with artists morals clauses, and we do our very best to let them know that they are playing in a setting which does have some bleed or blend over into the park area. The difficulty that we run into is when dealing with an artist and we try to censor or tell them what they should and should not say, it usually becomes a bigger mess than it is if we don't. This is a problem whether it's at the Super Bowl with an artist who decides to make an obscene gesture, thank you, an obscene gesture in order to bring attention to themselves or, for that matter, an artist down at Northerly Island. We do, I believe, filter our events somewhat carefully. We're going to have things that slip through. We work closely with the superintendent staff with advance notice on the artists that are coming, and I think we've done a far better job in allowing those voters to feel as though that we are being sensitive to their needs. The keys to that, I believe, are the length of show, that we at all times take into account the length of show and what the activity is over in the harbor during that time. The other thing that we also take into account is we are one of the residents, if you will, of Museum Campus, and we also have to not only be concerned about the boaters, but we also try to be cognizant of what's going on over at Adler, what's going on at the Field Museum, and we try to be a good neighbor to all of the residents, if you will, of the museum campus.
Thank you.
Okay?
Great.
Is there MBE or WBE participation in any way in this contract?
Absolutely. There are minimums that are required both by the contract, and then we exceed on all of those levels, and we can provide for you the documentation on that.
Mm-hmm.
But our history has been in the facility to not just meet, but to exceed those minimum requirements that the city has in place.
Thank you.
Thanks. So just in closing, I'd like to say this is a great venue.
Thank you.
We had a beautiful summer night out there. It's a great place to hear a concert. The city backdrop is fabulous, and I have a lot of people that tell me it's their only exposure to Northerly Island, and so we've got to get them out there in other ways, but they're certainly getting out and enjoying the park there. And I know that while we only had 8 events last year, we were at 85% of our budget, so all we got to do is hit a few more here, and we're early enough that we ought to be able to, so I think we're optimistic and look forward to working with you.
We absolutely appreciate the time and effort that was put in by the park board, the park staff in order to help expedite matters, and we have some ideas in order to bring some new programming out to the facility that we think will further, and thank you for your compliments about the facility. We're very proud of it, and as a Chicago resident, it is simply my favorite place to go see a show as well.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the previous matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Item number 10 from the Assistant Director of Recreation and Athletics, authorization to enter into contracts for the supply and delivery of sporting goods.
Good afternoon, President Traubert, Commissioners, General Superintendent and CEO Kelly. My name is Daphne Johnson, and I am the Assistant Director of Recreation with the Community Recreation Department. I am here to recommend that an order be entered authorizing the General Superintendent or his designee to enter into contracts with Palos Sports Incorporated and S&S Worldwide for the supply and delivery of sporting goods. The Department of Community Recreation is responsible for programming at all park locations. Park locations and Department of Community Recreation units offer multiple sports programs. Having these contracts in place will allow the Department of Community Recreation to expeditiously meet its programming needs at a fair and reasonable price. Questions?
So moved.
Second.
If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the previous matter to this matter.
Motion carried, and the matter is adopted.
Item number 11 from the Director of Natural Resources, authorization to enter into a contract for district-wide planting and landscaping services.
Good evening. Adam Schwerner, Director for the Department of Natural Resources. It is recommended that the General Superintendent and CEO or his designee enter into a contract with Moore Landscapes Incorporated for the purpose of providing planting and landscaping services district-wide. Contractor was selected pursuant to a publicly advertised request for proposals. The contract is for an initial term of 2 years with 3 additional 1-year options possible. The initial term for the first 2 years is $5 million. As a way of explanation, the Department of Natural Resources is responsible for managing and maintaining the Chicago Park District's landscaped areas, which include an urban forest of approximately 200,000 trees and more than 1,000 turf-based athletic fields. It is through this contract that we're able to plant additional trees, resurface natural turf fields, aerate, seed, plant shrubs, plant gardens, plant perennials, and make the parks beautiful. Any questions?
So moved.
Second.
If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the previous matter to this matter.
Motion carried, and the matter is adopted.
Thank you.
Item number 13 from the Director of Communications and Marketing, authorization to enter into a contract for the production of the Chicago Park District's television show and other promotional videos.
Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Jessica Faulkner. It is recommended that the General Superintendent and CEO or his designee enter into a contract with Carl Productions for the production of the district's television show and other promotional videos. The contractor was selected pursuant to a publicly advertised RFP. No work may commence and no payment shall be made to the vendor prior to the execution of a written agreement. It is a 1-year term with 3 1-year options. The contract amount, there was 3 bidders in this process, and it resulted in a very competitive process. Even though we ended up with the same vendor previously, the contract is about $7,000 less per episode than the previous year. Again, the scope of services is the production of the half-hour television show and other promotional videos. Are there any questions I can answer?
Do you use any methods to try to see the effectiveness of this?
Absolutely. It is cable, so it isn't Nielsen rated, but we do know that there's a universe of about 426.5 households that watch the station. In addition to that, we put episodes on YouTube, so people can access through YouTube, and so we are able to track those hits.
Jessica, how is the contract amount determined? Is that negotiated, or do we have a set amount?
It was a competitive bid, so we had 3 bidders, and actually the prices came in just about the same. They were the lowest bidder, as it happens.
Any further discussion?
Would move to accept.
Second.
If no objection, we will apply the last favorable roll call vote from the previous matter to this matter.
Motion carried, and the matter is adopted.
Item number 14 from the Director of Planning, Construction, Facilities, authorization to participate in the City of Chicago contract 21921 for the purchase of forestry aerial trucks.
Good afternoon, Rob Raymond, Director of Planning, Construction, and Facilities. Pursuant to the joint purchasing agreement between the Chicago Park District and the City of Chicago, it's recommended that the General Superintendent, CEO, or his designee enter into a contract with Patson Incorporated DBA Trans Chicago Truck for the purchase of forestry aerial trucks. The amount of services to be provided each year will depend on the requirements and shall not exceed budget appropriations for the operations and capital expenses for the applicable year. The initial contract term is April 2010 through April 2015, and the City of Chicago's Chief Procurement Officer may extend this contract for a period of no more than 181 days after the expiration of the initial term. We anticipate in the initial term expenditures in the amount of $350,000 for the purchase of 2 forestry trucks initially,
The minority and women-owned participation are 25 and 5 per the city's contract. The Department of Facility Management is responsible for the maintenance, repair, and replacement of the Chicago Park District's fleet. And we currently, we have, I believe, we have 4 aerial trucks, and 3 of them are not working, so we need to purchase 2 more. They're at the end of their useful life. They're not worth putting any more money into at the current state. I should note that the city's procurement, their ability to procure, they have a higher volume than we do. They would order approximately 30 trucks per year, where we order 2. So we take advantage of their purchasing power through this contract. And also, because this contract covers parts and maintenance, it standardizes our parts and maintenance services contract to be in line with the city.
So moved.
Second.
If no objection, we apply the last favorable roll call vote from the previous matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Item number 15, from the Director of Planning, Construction, and Facilities, authority to enter into intergovernmental agreements with the City of Chicago to accept the transfer of the TIFT funds for various projects.
Thank you. It's recommended that the Board of Commissioners of the Park District enter an order authorizing the acceptance of $2,145,425 in tax increment financing for the payment or reimbursement of development costs for various park projects. There are 4 projects in question. The first one is Altgeld. Next slide, please. This slide shows the amount of money going to each project. It's Altgeld. That's an artificial turf. Augusta. It's a playground. Claremont is a playground. And Harris was an energy performance contracting contract. There's $750,000 for Altgeld, $145,000 for Augusta, $250,000 for Claremont, and just a little over $1 million for Harris.
And I do want to state for the record, I want to thank obviously the mayor and his team, but also Alderman Irvin, Alderman Mitz, Alderman Fioretti, and Alderman Cochran, whose helped get us this over $2 million in TIF.
And you know, there's more to this presentation, but if in the interest of time, if we'd like, I don't have to go through each and every project. I can just mention the projects that are queued up, unless you'd like me to go forward.
So moved.
Second.
If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the previous matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Having heard item number 16 early in the meeting, we'll move on. Item 17, from the Director of Planning, Construction, Facilities, authorizations to enter into contracts for the supply and delivery of building materials and other related supplies.
Thank you. It's recommended that an order be entered authorizing the General Superintendent or his designee to enter into contracts with the Chicago United Industries, SL Corporation, DBA Harry's Lumber Corp., Root Brothers Manufacturing and Supply Company, and Vermax Services for the supply and delivery of building materials and other related supplies. These contracts were selected pursuant to a publicly advertised invitation for bid. The contract period is 1 year with 4 additional 1-year extension options. If the extension options are authorized, funding would be based upon annual appropriations. The contract amount depends on requirement, but it is anticipated the amount for the initial contract term would be $500,000.
May I say for the record, based on information that you have supplied to us, that we understand that you're in a very difficult spot with respect to being able to execute these contracts to make sure that you have materials on hand to do what has to be done in the upcoming season. But I do have a concern that I would like to express for the record with respect to MBE, WBE participation on a major portion of the contracts that are being let today. So much so that I feel compelled to say, while I know that a waiver is being requested for this 1 year, and I accept the fact that a waiver may be necessary for this year, but I could not lend my support to a 3-year contract without revisiting this whole issue of a sincere effort to get participation of women and minority vendors as we go forward from here.
Rafi Sarafian, Commissioner.
We concur, and to clarify just one matter, this contract was, the IFB was advertised with 21 categories. There are 17 categories have full compliance. There are 4 categories for which a waiver was requested. The bulk of the estimated usage comes from those 4 categories. We concur, so we are going to be working with that awardee for those 4 categories to work very hard to get some compliance on their contract for those 4 categories. And we will also be very clear to let them know from the get-go that if we don't see any participation during the first year initial term, then we will not exercise our extension options, and we'll look for other options to procure these commodities.
I would like to also ask you to address the broader issue of ensuring that if there are waivers given as need be in this situation, that overall the procurement program is respecting and addressing the MBEWB participation elements. And I understand that that is the case, but I'd like for you to reiterate that for the record, please.
Absolutely. This is a very infrequent experience. We do not grant many waivers at the Park District. I could think maybe of 1 other or 2 other circumstances. It's similar to this. It's commodity purchases. We track the compliance in purchasing on 272 contracts. That's construction and non-construction. And we hold our contractors to their MBEWB commitments and the schedules in their contract. And when we see that they're falling short, we immediately jump and reach out to them and say, you're falling short. We learn why, and we work with them to get them back on track. If they're still having difficulty, I have by code the right to withhold waiver, and I have, to withhold payment, and I have, and that seems to be a very good motivator for our contractors. I also have the ability, the board gave me the authority recently to debar firms, and we've articulated that to firms that aren't meeting our compliance goals, that we will move to debar, that we will move to default, that we will move to terminate their contract for convenience. So we have contractual tools and heavy tools available for us to get firms to comply, and we do. Forgive me. Next month we will be reporting to the board on a quarterly basis. We'll begin next month on our MBEWB utilization on all of our contracts, so you can see where we are on all of our contracts, construction, non-construction, what the contractual commitments were regarding MBE and WB utilization, and where they are. So that report will be forthcoming in next month.
Yeah, and I'd like to emphasize that last point. This is what we've asked, and frankly, going to the PBC, the Public Building Commission meeting, they received this quarterly report as to a real assessment of how they're doing on MBWBE, and a report when there's been failure about the liquidated damages. And so you've committed that on a quarterly basis that we'll get such a report to see how we're really doing.
Absolutely, and you'll see those numbers next month.
Can I just add that it's my understanding that this one bidder is, because of the situation we're in right now, they're going to start at 0% compliance.
Correct. Correct. But our commitment here today is to start working with them to move away from that and move and get some compliance and move away from that and move upwards of 0. And as I said earlier, if we don't see any progress there, then no extension, and we'll make sure to articulate that to them, from our first meeting, so they know that they have to find some compliance. If not, we're not going to move forward.
I mean, for the record, I believe that this particular contractor should know that to be at 0% is, at least from my perspective, just a total lack of effort to align themselves to the values and compliance of this body.
I understand.
And so I think, we need to send a very strong message that they need to be moving very, very quickly.
I understand, Commissioner, and we're going to take your strong messages back to them. And believe me, the Department of Purchasing, is not pleased at all with recommending a waiver. And as I said, this is a very infrequent experience. So, we don't come here often, and we don't ask for waivers often. and we try to get compliance all the time and full compliance. And we're successful. This is one of those rare occasions, but we take it just as seriously, and we will make sure to articulate your serious concerns to this vendor in question. I'd like to add also the City of Chicago is going to be moving ahead on their award soon for similar supplies, and they waived at least 20% on MBE, and they waived the entire WBE. So they're getting maybe 4-point-something% compliance on theirs, and that was a product of a single bid award as well.
Thank you.
So they're 5% ahead of us right now.
4.7.
Thank you.
And keep in mind too that of the awardees today, among the 4, there are 2 MBEs: Vermac Services and Chicago United. And though they only have a few categories, nonetheless, they are MBEs. And on all the 17 categories, we do have compliance as well.
Thank you.
Okay,
Is that good?
I'm good. For now.
So moved.
Second.
If no objection, we will apply the last favorable roll call vote from the previous matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
That concludes the board meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. The board meeting is now adjourned.